Hi, this is Javier Arau, and thank you for tuning in to Major Scale Tips and Tricks. This comes up because people know some of the basics, like circle of fifths, an order of flats and sharps, yet they still have a ton of problems memorizing all 12 major scales. So this is just a set of pointers on helping you learn exactly what goes into a major scale and how to make it easier to learn all 12. So first of all, what I have up on the screen is the traditional major scale construction. This is what most people learn, that there's an order of that goes whole, half step, whole, half. So it's kind of a mantra that you can recite: whole, half, half. And that's actually a fine way to construct just one major scale at a time. But that's not what we're going to discuss here. That's certainly musical common knowledge. So I'm going to scroll down and talk a little bit about symmetry within the major scale. So if you look at the bottom half of the major scale, you have 1, 2, 3 notes in a row, and these are all separated by whole steps. And then after you have the 3 steps in a row, you have one extra little note that's a half step. And this is very easy to see in the key of C because it's all white keys here. And it's a little bit harder, in some cases much harder for some people in other keys where there are plenty of sharps and flats. So the top half is actually the exact same construction. And this is what a lot of people miss when they look at a major scale. That the top half still follows a 1, 2, 3 pattern of whole steps and then a little half step at the end. So let's go ahead and hear the major scale and then we'll move on. And again. Moving on, we're going to look at the C major scale now, and basically every major scale includes parts of 2 other major scales. This is going to become very, very helpful information when you go to learn all 12, because really you actually only have to learn a few of those 12 once you start seeing how they're all interrelated. So the C major scale has no sharps, no flats, of course, and you can see in the beginning C, D, E, F. This bottom half of the C major scale is actually the top half of the F major scale. So you look at the 4 notes here, and then come down to the F major scale below, and look at the top half of the F major scale, C, D, E, F. It's the same 4 notes. On the other side of the C major scale, on the top half, you have G, A, B, C, and the top half of C is the bottom half of the G major scale. If you come down here, you'll see G, A, B, C. Notice between these 2 halves, between the bottom half and the top half, is a whole step in the middle. So between F and G is a whole step. And again, that's very, very easy to see in the key of C. It gets a little bit trickier in other keys. So keeping in mind that these 2 halves are separated by whole step becomes pretty convenient for later. Let's hear these. One more example, taking the same concept now and looking at it in just a different key. This is the D major scale, and in the D major scale we have parts of G major and parts of A major. So you have the D major scale, D, E, F sharp, G. We're going to do the same thing. This bottom half of D major becomes the top half of the G major scale, so D, E, F sharp, G. The top half of D major, A, B, C sharp, D. If you look right below, you have A, B, C sharp, D as the first notes of the A major scale. So this 4th note makes a new scale. That's the new tonic of a different scale. In this case, it's going to be the G major scale. You can see it descending, the first 4 notes here. And then the 5th note, A, is the tonic of also another major scale, the A major scale. So keep in mind that the fourth and fifth notes are new scales that come out of the original scale you're looking at. Now let's take a look at the 12 major scales really briefly. I've divided them into two halves. If you had a major scale sheet in front of you, it probably wouldn't have this line. You could draw it in if it's helpful. I think eventually you won't, maybe even right away, you won't need the line. You can already start to see what halves connect with what other scales. So right away you can see C major again, you're here, and it connects right down to the top of the F major scale. Just randomly I'll go to B flat. Okay, so the B flat major scale, I look at the top half and I see, that looks very, very familiar. That's right, it belongs to F major. The bottom half, that's something maybe new, so we're going to scroll down. And, oh, right away. Okay, so I see B flat, C, D, E flat, and that connects, that's the top half of E flat major. So you're going to see these patterns and these connections between scales very easily and very quickly, I think. Let's look at maybe one more. Take a look at B major at the bottom. B major gives a lot of people trouble, but this may be a pretty easy way to learn it. You have B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Well, if you've been working on your E major scale, you're going to see B, C sharp, D sharp, E on the top half. The top half of B major always gives people problems, and you'll see that this top half, once you know it, then hey, that makes the F sharp major scale that much easier because it's the same for the bottom half of F sharp. So to review, let's scroll back up here. Tips and tricks to remember. Number one, major scales are made from two groups of 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, plus a half step. So you could have C, D, E, F, or D, E, oh, this is a typo, it should be D, E, F sharp, G, or A flat, B flat, C, D flat. And I just was picking random starting notes, and after that you just go Do, Re, Mi, plus a half step. These two groups of, these 4-note groups, 2 of them are separated by a whole step to make up the whole major scale. So in the key of C major you have C, D, E, F, and then a whole step to get you to G, A, B, C. Moving on, number 3, the 2 embedded scales start on the 4th and 5th notes of the major scale. So for example, in the C major scale, the 2 embedded scales are F and G major. F and G are the 4th and 5th notes of the C major scale. Of course, for C major you have C, D, E, F, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, or C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C is 6, 7, 8 at the top. Number 4, the top half scale fragment also belongs to the scale that has 1 sharp added. I didn't really talk about this a lot. I think this is something that you'll observe the more you think about this concept. So if you want to stop here and just go with what I've given you, that's fine. If you want, and you're feeling like you're not on overload yet, this really helps also with major scales. The top half of C major is G major, and when you think G major, if you're thinking circle of fifths, because this does totally relate to the circle of fifths, you get 1 sharp in G major. So it's kind of the top half of C major belongs to another scale where 1 sharp is added. This is true for any scale. So if you take D major and you think the top half of D major, you're going to have A major. And so you go from D major being 2 sharps to A major being 3 sharps. Number 5, the bottom half also belongs to the scale that has 1 sharp subtracted or 1 flat added. So in the case of C, you think the bottom half of C, C, D, E, F, that belongs to F major, and it's basically 1 flat for F major. So that's 1 more flat than you had in C major. Another example in the key of D, the bottom half of D belongs to G major, and again in D major you had 2 sharps, in G major you have 1 sharp. So I hope that helps. Feel free to go to my channel. I'm putting up more clips on YouTube and other video sites on different musical tips and tricks. I also have a website, www.javierarau.com. I have been doing a ton of research on scales and harmony, and I'm developing a book series on all of this, so if you'd like to check out more, you can go ahead and tune in. But hopefully that helps you really get a much firmer grasp on major scales, all 12 of them, rather than just sitting there with your circle of fifths and your BEAD GCF order of flats and sharps, and hopefully you'll get somewhere beyond just feeling like you're memorizing a bunch of notes. I think looking at these patterns is immensely helpful, and I hope it's helpful for you too. Thanks.